So today we are going to discuss about the next unit. Okay, ultimately I have finished my unit 1. So this is unit 2. I am going to start. So here what comes is the imperfect factor market. If you can remember, in your last sem we have discussed about the perfect factor market. That means there is a perfect competition in the factor market, and then what will be the price of the factor, the economic rent, everything we have discussed there. So the imperfection, as all the imperfect market structures are in this year, this semester syllabus, so the imperfect factor market is also a part of your syllabus for this time. Okay, so the imperfect factor market. Now before going to discuss that factor market, I'm just asking one question from you. What do you mean by marginal revenue product of labor? MRPL, can you remember that concept, MRPL? So I'm asking, what is the definition, or what do you mean by MRPL, marginal rate of product transformation of labor? Anyone? It was in your last sem. Marginal rate of product transformation, MRPL? No one?
Ma'am, marginal MR into
Product.
MPL.
Yes, MR into MPL. So it is actually the income of the producer if he will the additional income of the producer if he will employ one additional unit of labor. Okay, right? So that is also needed here. Okay, that concept of MRPL is also required here. Now, what is imperfect factor market? Again, as it is imperfect, there may be, there are two sides. One is the producer, or here it is the demand side and the supply side. Okay. Now, in the factor market, the demand is coming from the producer and the supply is coming from the factors of production. Okay. So this is the demand side and this is the supply side. Now, if in the demand side there is a single consumer, you can say, uh, then, or the single purchaser, okay, there is no one else. As you are the single buyer, okay, you are the single buyer, then you may be the, your name is you have the monopsony power, right? So if there is a single buyer, it is called monopsony, and if there is a single seller, then it is called monopoly. That we know. Now here in the factor market, if there is a single producer who is going to purchase the factor, then it is the monopsony power to that producer. On the contrary, if there is a single seller of the factor, any of the factors of production, then it is the monopoly power of that factor of production in this market. Okay. So here we will discuss one by one. So first of all, the monopsony power. Monopsony power means, you can understand, there is a single producer who is demanding the factor in the factor market. Okay, so you are the single buyer. The producer is the single buyer. That is the monopsony. Now, if just forget about that monopsony and everything. So if you are the producer and you are going to employ the factor, then what will be the logic behind the employment? You are trying to find out that when the extra income, which that is called actually the marginal value of the factor, then how can you explain marginal value? It is written over here, look, MV means the marginal value. Now what is the marginal value? Marginal value of a factor means, if you are employing one additional unit of a factor, then how much additional income you are going to earn. Okay. If you are employing one additional factor, then what is the additional income you can earn by his output? Hmm. This is called the marginal value. So here the producer is interested about that marginal value because that is his net return. Na? So the marginal value should equal to the marginal expenditure. Marginal expenditure means as the producer is employing one labor, say one factor, okay, it's better to say a single factor, then what is the extra expenditure for that factor? That is the marginal expenditure. You know the marginal concept. So what he is trying to do? He is trying to equalize these. Okay, that what is my extra what can I say? What is my extra income should equal to my extra expenditure for that particular unit of the factor. That is my objective as a producer, right? So as a producer, what is my objective? As a producer, my objective is to find out just wait for a minute. Give me 1 minute. I'm coming back by 1 minute. Yes. So what I am talking about? Yeah, I'm the producer. I'm going to now I'm taking the decision whether I will employ one additional factor of production or not. So how I will take the decision that I have to check whether the return, the marginal return from the factor of production is equal to my marginal expenditure for that factor of production. So the marginal return is called the marginal value. Okay, and I explained it that marginal value means if you are going to employ one additional factor of production, then he will produce some extra output. So if you are going to sell that extra output in the market, then you will earn some extra income. So that extra income is only because of the employment of that single factor which you have done yesterday, and today you are earning the extra income. So that extra income is called the marginal value of that particular factor of production. And to employ that factor of production, you have to give him the reward, right? So that is called the marginal expenditure. So you have to equalize them to have the optimum level of labor employment. So the optimum level of labor employment is coming with the condition of marginal value is equal to marginal expenditure. I think this part is okay. Do you have any problem from the last bullet, that is MV is equal to ME, marginal value is equal to marginal expenditure? Any problem from this last one? Then I will go back to the second one. I'm going to explain the second one, but just tell me if you have any problem from the third bullet. Do you have any problem?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm coming back to the second one. Actually, it should be after MV anyway. So what is the marginal value? How to calculate the marginal value? When I'm explaining marginal value, if you can remember, then it is nothing but the marginal revenue product. Okay, you are going to employ one additional factor. That factor is producing some additional output, and you are going to sell that output in the market. By selling that output, you are getting some extra income. So this is what? That extra income part is the marginal revenue, and the extra output produced by that extra factor is the marginal product. It's nothing but the marginal revenue product. Okay. So marginal value is nothing but the marginal revenue product. And if the factor is labor, then it is the marginal revenue product of labor. So ultimately your equilibrium condition is MRPL is equal to ME. Fine. So this is the thing. Now the in case of the monopsony, how so we are getting the equilibrium condition. Very fine. Now look what happened in case of perfect competition. Your marginal expenditure is equal to average expenditure, right? And MRPL is equal to VMPL. Why? Because the price of the product is constant, right? So MR is equal to price. Now, in case of the perfectly competitive market, MR is equal to AR is equal to price. You know that. So that is why you can replace that MR by P and your MPL is there. So price into MPL is nothing but the VMPL. So that is replaced by VMPL in case of perfect competition. Okay. And the marginal expenditure is nothing but the wage. Okay. So this is how we are getting equilibrium in case of the perfectly competitive factor market. But
Ma'am,
here,
can you repeat?
yes, I'm telling that in case of perfect competition, it is not the perfect competition. Remember, it is not in our syllabus right now, but I'm just taking something from the back. Marginal revenue means what? Marginal revenue means if you are going to sell some amount in the market, then what your extra income is called the marginal revenue. Okay, and this is nothing but the price of your product. So you are replacing MR by the price, and MPL is there. So price into MPL is called the VMPL, right? And ME is what? ME is the expenditure for that factor of production. So it is the wage rate if it is labor. So the equilibrium condition in case of the perfect competition is a VMPL is equal to wage rate. Okay, that will be the equilibrium condition in general. But here it is not. Why? Because here marginal expenditure is not equal to average expenditure. If you can remember, in, in our last sem, we draw a diagram like this. The average expenditure, first of all, if you are going to employ more and more labor, that means here you are measuring the labor. Here on the in the horizontal axis, you are measuring labor, and on the vertical axis, you are measuring, say, the average expenditure and the marginal expenditure. Okay. So, if you are employing more and more labor, then the average expenditure is increasing. So, it's like that. Okay. And if it is a perfect competition, then the marginal expenditure curve is also upward rising, but more than average expenditure. This derivation we did in our last sem. So I'm not going to derive this relationship again, but I'm just showing the diagram. This is your average expenditure curve, and this is your marginal expenditure curve. How they are like this we already discussed. So this is the marginal expenditure. If you cannot remember, just go through your pin tag, it is there. Aha. That should be expenditure. That should be expenditure. Anyway. So these are the two curves in case of imperfect competition. But if it is perfect competition, then average expenditure is equal to marginal expenditure and everything is very fine there. So, but in case of imperfect competition, this is the thing. Now you have your MRPL, so I'm going to the diagram. Look, this is taken from your book. So here, here you are measuring amount of input. You may consider it as a labor and the price of that input on the vertical axis. Now look what happened. Average expenditure curve is upward rising, as I said, and the marginal expenditure is also upward rising, but steeper than average expenditure. So it is this one. Okay, and you have your MRPL curve downward sloping because your marginal revenue is downward sloping. Your marginal product in the second stage of production is downward sloping. So MRPL is obviously downward sloping, and this is nothing but your marginal value. So your marginal value curve is downward sloping, your marginal expenditure curve is upward rising. And you know the equilibrium is ME is equal to MV. So this is the equilibrium point. Fine. So the question is, what will be the price of the input? Again, like the monopoly in case of the market, final product market, the wage is not determined from this equilibrium point because the marginal expenditure is not showing the wage rate. The wage rate is actually represented by the average expenditure curve. Average expenditure means total expenditure by the amount of labor employed, right? By definition, your average expenditure is total expenditure. So what is the total expenditure for a factor of production? So it is the labor. So W into L, this is the total expenditure divided by the amount of labor employed. So L, so that L will be cancelled out and ultimately you will get W, that is the wage rate. So this is how average expenditure is nothing but the wage rate. So when you are going to find out the equilibrium wage rate, then you have to check the wage rate corresponding to AE curve. So this is how the WC or W star is becoming the wage rate, equilibrium wage rate. So L star is here and W star is here. Okay, how we are getting the equilibrium if the producer of the final product has the monopsony power in the factor market. So this is the diagram for the monopsonist in the factor market. Any problem from this diagram? Any problem from the explanation anywhere?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now look, there is an example given in your book, that is the bargaining power. Here actually what happened, as the seller is the single, as the buyer is the single buyer, so that is how he is, look what happened, he is giving W star as he has some monopoly, the seller, the buyer has some monopoly power over the market, so he is giving lower wage as compared to what? As compared to perfectly competitive market. If it is perfect competition, then your equilibrium will be at C. If the factor market is perfectly competitive, then your equilibrium will be C. Why? Because you know that at this point, average expenditure is equal to marginal expenditure, and at the equilibrium, they should be equal to MRPL. This is the condition we already know. So this is how C will be the equilibrium. And if C is the equilibrium, you can compare C with your current equilibrium, right? So the labor employment is higher, wage rate is also higher. So if it is perfectly competitive structure, then factors of the owner of the factors of production, he is in a better position. Okay, but if the producer or here it is the buyer has some monopsony power over the market, then he is employing lesser labor or the lesser factor of production with the lower price of the factors of production. So he is making some control. This is how you can say that he has a control over the factor market. Okay. So if the comparison is there, if the question is compare perfectly competitive market with the imperfectly competitive factor market where the buyer is a single one, then you can use this diagram. Okay. So this part is done in case of the, okay, and before leaving this monopsony situation, here one important thing is the bargaining power. The bargaining power of whom? Bargaining power of the seller. Okay, bargaining power of the factors of production. If he can bargain, then he can go to the perfectly competitive structure. Okay, at least to the perfectly competitive market. But if it is not, then he has to accept that W star and L star. Okay. Here one example is there. It is the bargaining power. It is something related with the bargaining power of the buyer. Say there is one company there in your book. The example is Jet Airways, but right now Jet Airways is not existing actually. So take any of the airline. Say Indigo. Indigo is still there. Say Indigo. Actually, there are two important companies who are making the aircraft. So they are Boeing and the Airbus, right? Either the Boeing plane or the Airbus. Now you can say that okay, Boeing and Airbus. They are one is a German company, one is a USA company. So what happened? They are as they are very large, they are producing, the size of the airplane. So it's a lot, it's a massive. So they are producing this type of product, and they are obviously they are very mm, profit making agents in that way. So it's a large company, you can say. So as they are very large company, the Boeing and the Airbus company, as they are very large company, so they have the monopoly power in the market. You can say that. But look at the reality. Say Indigo is going to purchase some airplane um, from Boeing and from Airbus. Now the question is, it is not like purchasing sugar. It's not like purchasing vegetable, right? That every day you have to purchase. You have to purchase vegetable, fruits every day. You have to purchase milk every day. But Indigo should not purchase aeroplane every day, right? He may purchase, that company may purchase a new plane, say after 5 or after 10 years. Okay, so this is how they are replacing the old model with the new one. So, so you can understand that demand is not coming frequently to the Boeing or the Airbus company. Huh? So when that Indigo is coming to those companies and asking to and just informing that okay, I'm going to purchase some new planes from your company. So they're very happy in that sense. Okay, because the demand is not coming frequently. So, in that sense, Indigo has some control over the market. Indigo is the single buyer in this market. So now he can negotiate with Boeing and the Airbus and say that look, if you are not going to reduce the price of your product, then I'm going to Airbus. And the same thing he is telling to the Airbus company that if you are not going to reduce your product, then I'm going to Boeing company. Okay, so this is the bargaining. Okay? This is the bargaining he is doing with both the companies. And as those companies are not getting customers every day, so they have to reduce their price of their product as much as possible. And finally, they will sell it at the lower price. And this is how that W star is coming. Okay, this is actually the W star is because of the bargaining power of that monopsonist. Here it is the Indigo company. Okay, so that monopsony power is represented by the bargaining power of the company. If he can bargain and can succeed, that means he has some control over the market as a buyer. Huh? Anyway, so this is the monopsony situation. So now I'm going to another side, that monopoly. It is not reasonable always. You have to uh, that it is the only situation that there is a single buyer. There may be single seller of the factor, right? So there may be single seller of the factor. So we must know about that side. Okay? So we are going to the monopoly situation. Monopoly situation means there is a single seller of a particular factor. So basically what happened, here we will consider that monopoly situation with respect to the labor market, and the monopoly is achieved in this market by the trade union. Okay, by the trade union. Now the question is, Now the question is, if there is a strong trade union, if now look at this diagram. Just a minute. This is also from Pindike, you can understand. Look at this diagram. So here, this is the supply curve of the labor. It is the demand curve of the labor, and this is the marginal revenue curve. The simple monopoly diagram. Forget about the average expenditure, marginal expenditure. Okay, it is not here because it is the monopoly. It is the monopoly of the seller. So this is the supply curve of the seller. This is the demand curve in the market, and corresponding to the downward sloping demand curve, you have the marginal revenue curve. Fine. Now, once you have the marginal revenue and one, this is supply. Supply is what? Supply is nothing but the marginal cost, you know. So supply and demand, MR and MC, they are intersecting at this point. So this is the equilibrium point. Very fine. Now, at this equilibrium point, the wage rate is W1 and the employment is L1. And why it is happening? Because there is a monopoly of the factor in this market. That means there's a control by the trade union in this market. But if there is no control, okay, if it is a perfectly competitive market, then what will be the equilibrium? The equilibrium will be at A. And at A, the wage rate is W star and the employment is L star. So you can understand, just like before, you can understand if it is a perfectly competitive structure, then the more factors can be employed, but they will get lower wage. So employment may be high, but the wage will fall. Okay. Now it is the negotiation. Now here comes the negotiation. Here comes the control of the trade union over the market. If they want, now look, it said is the perfectly competitive structure. Demand is equal to supply. Equilibrium A is the equilibrium point, and W star and L star is there. So a very low wage rate with a lot of employment. Okay. Now given this situation, say trade union appears, and trade union is negotiating with the producer, right? So trade union is negotiating with the producer, and they are asking, obviously one of the objective of the trade union is to increase the wage rate. But when he is increasing the wage rate, what he is sacrificing? The trade union is sacrificing a level of employment. Say the wage rate is W2, then the employment is L2. This is less than L star. Still he is not happy, and he is getting more and more control over the market. Finally, he is getting the absolute monopoly in the market, and he is getting the equilibrium the equilibrium wage W1 with the employment L1. So the labor employment is lowest. Okay, so those who are getting employment, they are very happy. And who are getting employment? The workforce who are the member of the trade union, right? So the member of the trade union, they are very happy because they are getting employment as well as their wage is very high than before. But those who are not getting job in this situation, they are, their wage is zero. So it's a poverty for them. So if there is a monopoly, so what I'm trying to explain, that if there is a monopoly of the factor, for example, trade union, income inequality will be stronger. There is a section who are employed, whose wage is significantly high, and there is another section in the economy, because of this monopoly of the trade union, they are not getting job. And as they are not getting the job, their income is very low. Okay, so income inequality is very prominent if there is a monopoly power of the factors in the market. The supply side monopoly, if there is a monopoly of the supply side, then you can get it. And the thing is, can you hear me, by the way? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So, what I'm telling, yes. So the thing is, those who are employed are very much happy, but those who cannot get the job, they are not at all happy. So wage inequality or the income inequality will be very much prominent in case of this type of monopoly. But if it is perfectly competitive structure, then the income inequality will not be there, because everyone will get lower wage, but the labor employment, as the labor employment is quite high, so a lot of people are getting their employment with a bit lower wage. So it is again the decision of the labor force, it is again the condition of the economy, condition of the market, that what will be the ultimate thing. Whether trade union will be prominent or not, it depends on the situation. But we can just explain, if there is trade union, then what will be the wage or employment, and if there is no trade union, that is perfect competition, then what will be the wage and employment. We can just explain that part. Okay, so this is here. Any query from there?
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Yes. Dara. Yes. Now this is the next one. Unorganized versus non-organized. Yes. Versus non-organized worker. Look what happened. আমারও না লেগেছিল, এটা কি আমরা ভুল বলছি, দাঁড়াও। Unionized and non-unionized workers. Non-unionized. Unionized and non-unionized worker. Now we are going to compare the situation. So there is a section in the labor force who are under the union, who are the member of the union, trade union, and there is another section who are basically not the member of the trade union. And this is quite real in any of the developing economy, because in the developing economy, most of the people, most of the labor force, they are unskilled, right? And generally unskilled workers are not getting any trade union support. For example, agricultural farmer, for example, household helpers, they are actually unskilled workers. So there is no such union, or there is, or if there is any such union, they are not very strong. But for the skilled worker, they are very much united. Okay, so there is a trade union against for those skilled force. Anyway, so in the reality, we are getting these two type of workers. A section who are the member of the trade union, and another section who are not the member of the trade union. So what will be the condition of these two workers? Now look, so the total labor, if you club these two sections, then the total labor supply is constant for a time being. Say that supply is SL. Okay, the supply, you can understand, it is independent of the wage rate. So it's a vertical straight line. We are measuring wage on the vertical axis, and we are measuring number of workers on the horizontal axis. Fine. And this is the labor supply constant, the constant labor supply. A part of that labor is under the union, and there is a part who are not under the umbrella of the union. Okay. Now, this is the total demand for labor, the DL. So the DL and SL, they are intersecting each other at this point. And from this point, the wage rate is W star. Okay. Now, given the W star, this is the demand for the unionized worker, and this is the demand for the non-unionized worker. So the horizontal summation of these two demand curves are giving us this dark demand curve. Okay, so the DL is the horizontal summation of DU and DNU. Fine. So anyway, we are having that W star. Now given the W star, this amount, look at my pointer, this amount of labor are getting employment who are unionized. Okay, and this amount is the labor who are actually non-unionized, but they are employed, right? So this is the situation. Now, say the trade union is becoming very strong. No, that union is becoming very strong. Trade union or union, you can say anything. So it is becoming very strong, and it has some bargaining power, and that union is utilizing that bargaining power and somehow can increase the wage rate of the unionized worker. Fine. So there is a trade union. He is getting the monopoly power over his market, and this is how he is making the bargaining with the producer, and, and this is how he is acting it. Yes. So what happened? He is making some bargaining with the producer. That means who are actually the employer, and finally he succeed to get the higher wage. Very good. So the employer is giving the higher wage, that is WU, which is quite high than W star. Okay. But as the demand curve is downward sloping, when the wage rate is rising, demand for the unionized worker is falling. Okay, and this fall as compared to the initial employment, this fall is represented by del LU, the change of the labor employment, or rather fall of the labor employment of the unionized worker. So that we already know that if the wage rate is rising, then there should be a fall in the labor employment, and this is what happened here. Right now, the thing is, how those people will get employment? This section who are actually unionized, but they are now unemployed, right? So they have to get the employment, otherwise they cannot survive. So they are now going to the non-unionized section and trying to get the employment. So when they are going from the unionized section to the non-unionized section, then the supply of the non-unionized worker has increased, because now they are not under the union heading. Right? They just leave it because union is not giving them the job security. So they just left it. So now they are coming and they are now becoming the non-unionized workforce as they are coming in this section. So the supply of the non-unionized workers is increasing, and as it is increasing, the price or the wage of the non-unionized worker is falling. Okay, and that is why WNU will be the ultimate wage rate of the non-unionized worker, which is lesser than W star. And those people, that is del LU is equal to del LNU. That is the increase in employment of this non-unionized section is because of the unemployment from the unionized section. So this is how they are getting the employment. Now, any problem from this diagram? You can remember that union, non-union in this way, that skilled worker and unskilled worker. As I said, skilled workers are basically supported by the union, and the unskilled workers, there is no such strong union. There is a union, there may be some union, but they are not as strong as the skilled workers. So any problem from this diagram or the earlier slides from anywhere?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so as there is no problem, this much is there in Pindar and Lewenfeld for the imperfect factor market. So this is the thing. there is some exploitation portions are there, that monopolistic exploitation and all this. So that I will discuss in the next class. So for today, I am not going to discuss anything new. So what I will do, I just want to know one thing, that I have shared that model question with you for the market structures. So have you received it? Have you get it? The
Have you posted that in the LMS, right? The one that you.
yes, 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 yes.
Yes,
So
ma'am, I saw.
is it there?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay. So just keep practicing. And today I'm going to discuss some questions from the input market. Obviously, I have to choose because in the um, model question paper, it is the input market as a whole, but we have only the imperfectly input market, right? So I have to choose. Acha. I'm reading the question. Huh? Just listen it. State whether the following statements are true, false, or uncertain. Okay. The first statement. An IT company's demand for computer programmers depend not only on the current salary of the computer programmers, but also on how much software the company expects to sell. বলো তো কি হবে? আমি আবার বলছি। And IT companies' demand for computer programmers depends not only on the current salaries of the computer programmers, but also on how much software the company expects to sell. এটা true না false না uncertain? কি লাগছে?
Ma'am, it may be uncertain or false because if data shows that there is a relationship, then it should be uncertain.
So explain now why you are considering as uncertain. You have to explain with your no, with your concept of input market. The demand for the computer programmers not only depends on the current salary, that is the wage, but also on how much software the company expects to sell. That means what?
Production.
Yes, the production.
So yes, ma'am. There is yes, ma'am. It is true then.
It is true. It is true. Because again, that equilibrium condition is coming. That MRPL is equal to W. Hmm. So that so within that equilibrium, what are the factors? Your marginal revenue, your marginal product, and the wage. So wage is not the only important factor. From your right hand side, the marginal product is also important. That how much software you can produce by them, right? So that is the marginal product is another determinant of the employment. So this is true. And with all this, marginal revenue is also there. But you can sell. It's not the final step. How much you are earning from the selling is also important. That is the marginal revenue part. Okay. So anyway, but these two factors are obviously there. Now the next question. Now, next statement. A
Ma'am,
monopoly.
your voice is cracking too much.
কেন? দাঁড়াও, ওয়েট করো তাহলে। কি যন্ত্রণা। জাস্ট আ মিনিট, হ্যাঁ একটু ওয়েট করো, আমি দেখি চেঞ্জ করে। একটু দাঁড়াও, হ্যাঁ আমাদের আবার ভিডিও সিস্টেম। Is it better? Can you hear me? Or you
Yes,
not
ma'am.
able to? Okay, now
Yes,
is
ma'am.
it better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. কি যেন এটা করছিলাম, হ্যাঁ question discussion. Yes. So the next question, next statement. A monopolistic employer will hire less number of workers but will pay higher wage than a competitive employer. This is very easy. A monopolistic, a monopsonistic employer will hire less number of workers but will pay higher wage than a competitive employer. True, false or uncertain? কি হবে? Look at this diagram. A monopsonistic, এটা তো নয়, yes. The monopsonistic employer will hire less number of workers but will pay higher wage than the competitive employer. কি লাগছে? From this diagram, this is the monopsonistic.
False.
This is,
False.
yes, this is
Because the wage rate is lesser than the perfect competitive wage rate.
exactly. Employment is less, that part is done, but wage is also lesser than the competitive wage. So it's not that he will pay higher. But if it is monopoly of the factors of production, then that condition is there. But this is not the statement is a wrong one. দাঁড়াও।
Ma'am, we are unable to hear you.
কেন? আমি তো চেঞ্জ করলাম নেটটা।
Now it's fine.
বাহ, যেই বকে দিলাম অমনি ফাইন হয়ে গেল। দাঁড়াও খুঁজে বার করি। Based on most of the questions are from the perfectly factor market. Now all these questions are mathematical. Okay. Just give me 1 minute. I'm trying to show it in the screen. Give me 1 minute. Wait for 1 minute. It's a break time. Consider it as a break time. Yes, I'm here. Uh, so, yeah. Can you see this question? This is actually from the model question paper. Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now look. Mm, the first question number 1, this is from the perfectly competitive factor market. Now question number 2, labor supply, demand, equilibrium, wage. Suppose there is minimum wage. Yes, this is also from the, yes. Now look at question number 3. This is something related with the college professor. Okay. College professors can earn extra cash by reviewing articles for academic journals. Editors pay around 500 rupees per article, such a poor amount, for an academic opinion about whether it should be accepted for publication. Okay. Now, reviewing a paper takes 1 hour. Professor Chatterjee has 15 hours available each month for outside work, such as reviewing. He draws 30,000 monthly from his college, and this is his only source of income. ও বাবা, এটা তো লেবার লেজার বাজেট, নো, এটা তো নেই, এটা তো আমাদের আগের বার হয়ে গেছে। জাস্ট a minute. I was interested about the college professors, but it is not in our syllabus. Under the perfectly competitive scenario, this is said to forget about 4. 5 is also perfect competition. What about 6? Suppose the marginal product of a machine hour on chair production was 20 chairs per month, and that of the marginal product of a labor hour was 30 chairs per month. When the machine hour costs 20 and the labor hour costs 10, which factor will the firm wear and why? Will you try question number 6? Look at question number 6. But most of the questions are from the perfectly market structure. Anyway, question number 6. Look at the question number 6 and try to explain it.
Ma'am, we will find MRP for machine and labor both.
Yes. So what is the MRP for machine?
It is 400, and MRP for labor is 300. So the producer will choose to hire labor for production of chairs, as it is less than MRP of machine.
No. Whose MRP is more, you should go for it, na? MRP means you are talking about MR into MPL, na?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So whose MRP is more, the producer should hire that
Sorry,
factor.
there is no MR. Sorry, my mistake. There is no MR. There is cost. I have missed that term. Sorry, ma'am. Got confused.
Yes, yes, yes. Hmm. Marginal product. So MP is there. Marginal product of machine is there. Marginal product of labor is there. Machine hour cost 20. That is the wage for the machine is there. And the wage for the labor is also there. Now you have to find out MR. Where your MR is higher, you should go for this because your revenue is more there. Na? So from where you are getting more revenue or more marginal revenue? Or you can just find out the VMPL. Right? I think that will be better, VMPL, because MPL is there, price is there. So it is easy to find out. The VMPL of the machine is 400 and VMPL of the labor is 300. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. So VMPL of the machine is 400. So VMPL of the machine is greater than VMPL of the labor. So which factor will be chosen? Machine or labor? What is the equilibrium condition? VMPL is equal to W, na? দেখো আমি কি শুরু Okay, tell me the answer. Just tell me the answer. I'm not going to confuse you. Just tell me the answer. MP is there. W is there. VMPL. I'm sorry, this is not VMPL. That is why I'm talking. It is. I'm not going to confuse you because VMPL is price into MPL, but price is not given here. The equilibrium condition is P into MPL is equal to W, right? So MPL is there, W is there, P is not there. So you have to find out P for each category. So what is your answer? কোথায় গেলে সবাই?
Ma'am, I think labor should be the answer.
আচ্ছা, why?
Ma'am, because it costs less than machine, na. Per hour, if we see, it costs less, it produces more.
Without any economic equations and logic, you are just comparing like a layman and you are talking like this. Yes, your answer is okay, but you have to explain it logically, na. This is not the logic. The cost of product cost is less and return is more. So you have to explain it. So explain it properly. Your answer is right, but the explanation is wrong.
Ma'am, I just don't know what terms to put for the equation, so I just use logic.
No, look, marginal product means what? Marginal product means what you are getting from that factor, right? And the price, that is the cost. Cost means your expenditure for the factor. Hmm. So that you can say this is the marginal expenditure for the machine. The 20 rupees, this is the marginal expenditure for the machine. And in exchange of that, you are getting 20 chairs. So 20 chairs is the marginal product of machine. So you can compare it, marginal product divided by marginal expenditure. So you can find out the relative return from the machine. So 20 by 20 it will be 1, and the same thing for the labor will be 30 by 1, that is 3. So as 3 is greater than 1, so the relative return from the labor is higher than that of the machine. So the producer will hire labor. Okay, your answer was very much okay, but the explanation was missing. Now is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will share this part. I don't know whether it will be important for you because all no, I'm not going to share it in LMS because everything is from the perfectly competitive structure. It will confuse you.
Ma'am, please share it because we'll have more questions on it. So it will be overall beneficial to us.
Okay, okay, then I will share. No issue. I will share. Okay. And just a minute. Wait. Only this part left from the input market, that is the monopolistic exploitation and monopsonistic exploitation. I can explain the monopsonistic exploitation here. Just a minute. Yes, this diagram. This diagram will help you to find out the monopsonistic exploitation. Look, what is the monopsonistic exploitation? Look at this diagram. Sometimes these questions are coming. Now, you know the exploitation is there. You can understand from this diagram that the exploitation is there. If it is a perfectly competitive market, then the wage rate will be WC. And as there is a monopsony power by the demand side here, and the single buyer is there, that is why he is given W star. So that WC minus W star, WC minus W star, this is called monopsonistic exploitation. Can you remember this thing? This is called monopsonistic exploitation. As there is monopsony, that wage rate is reduced. So WC minus W star is called monopsonistic exploitation. Any problem from this idea? Sometimes these questions are coming. What is monopolistic exploitation? What is monopsonistic exploitation in the factor market? So this is here. So WC minus W star is the monopsonistic exploitation. That is because of as the wage rate the wage rate is lesser than the competitive one because of the monopsony power. So that is why it is the monopsonistic exploitation. If there is perfect competition, there is no exploitation. Okay, everything is determined by the market. There is no control over either by the demand side or by the supply side. Okay, so this is the most efficient solution. But once there is a control by either side of the market, then there will be exploitation. So here wage rate is reduced because there is a control by the consumer or the demand. Okay, so WC minus W star, this is called monopsonistic exploitation. Any problem from this diagram or any problem from this definition? You can ask.
Ma'am, can you show side by side the monopolistic exploitation?
It is here. No, actually for monopolistic, I have to draw that another demand curve here. Then only I can show. Okay, I will explain it in the next class. This part is only monopsonistic. Remember this part. But monopolistic, obviously, I will show in the single diagram. I will show it. I have this, but right now I cannot.
Okay, ma'am. I'm going to ask some question from the market. Okay, just tell me, what do you mean by reaction function? Anyone from this class? What do you mean by reaction function? কোথায় গেলে সবাই? This is from the model question paper. I have shared already with you in your LMS. What is reaction function? Okay, forget about that. The next question, what is the difference between the Cournot and the Stackelberg? That you must know. No? What is the difference between the Cournot and the Stackelberg model? Cournot and the Stackelberg equilibrium. What is the difference between the ideas of these two models? এটা তো জানো.
That you must know. So where is the answer? Everyone is so silent.
Ma'am, in Corno model, it is assumed that the change in output level of one firm has no effect on the output level of the other firm. But
Okay.
the Stackelberg model is a leadership model.
Hmm.
Uh,
So
so
what is
one
happening here?
uh, one firm assumes that the other one is acting according to the Corno model.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not getting you. The last one. শেষটা বুঝতে পারলাম না অদিতি। Anyone who wants to help her? Nikita, where you are? Help Aditi. Aditi has explained 50%. Remaining 50% is for you. Where you are? What is the speciality of the Steckelberg model? Why it is different from the Kuno?
There is a leader and a follower. The follower determines his level of output depending on the action of the leader.
Acha. Okay. Thank you, Aditi. Uh, Now, in case of the Steckelberg model, anyone from this class other than Aditi, because Aditi has already given her answer. So, in the Steckelberg model, the value of whose conjectural variation is equal to 0? Whose conjectural variation is 0? Leader or follower? Anyone other than Aditi?
Ma'am, I think it's leader.
Leader. Okay. Uh, you are right. Um, In case of monopolistic competition, there are two demand curves. What are the name of those demand curves? How we are defining those demand curves? Other than Aditi and Ishan. Bas. Only two students are in my class. What are the names of the two demand curves in monopolistic competition? There are two demand curves in the monopolistic, the Chamberlain model. Na? So what are the names of those two demand curves? And now I'm quite sure that Nikita is not listening because she is not giving any sound. So as no one is answering, anyone from Ishan and Aditi? What are the name of the two demand curves which we are which are there in the monopolistic competition or which are in the Chamberlain model? কেউ পারছো না গোটা ক্লাস পড়তে হবে তো তাহলে সব তো ভুলে গেছো তার মানে perceived demand curve and proportional demand curve মনে নেই ওকে তাহলে বাড়িতে ভালো করে পড়ো হ্যাঁ আমি পড়িয়ে যাচ্ছি আর তোমরা বাড়িতে পড়ছো না একবার অন্তত দেখছোও না সেটা কি করে হবে So you have to read in your home because